welcome in to another edition of Two Ball Guys on the Right. Thanks for joining us. Will Rooney is in the house with us tonight, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure and tell your friends. Hit the notification, and that would be the ding-ding bell up there, and that way you know exactly when we're ready to go and when we got a new video that's coming on. A lot of things going on. Let me just say, as a diehard Trump supporter, I'm not tired. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not abandoning Facebook and moving over the Parler. I have a Parler account. When it works, it's great, but it has more glitches than online voting, or mail-in voting. And so I'm not going. I don't want to get out of the bubble where I'm just talking to the same people. I would like to maybe talk to some liberals and try to
talk them out of being stupid.
Maybe reason with them. I don't know, but I'm not tired. I'm not going anywhere. We got a lot of things going on. I had a lady this weekend that told me just to give it up and concede, just like the president should. And I had to remind her of this picture right here, Will, of the picture from 2000 where it took 37 days for us to get a decision on the election. Yes, I'm talking about Gore and Bush. Oh, wait. The media said Gore was the winner. They said Gore was the winner. Did Gore ever get in office?
No.
Oh, okay. So maybe we shouldn't let the media decide.
But it says 271, Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry, but the whole hanging Chad thing, and then the lawsuits came, and guess who won?
Oh, Bush.
Bush won. And I'm not a big fan of George W. Bush. There are things that he did that I have a problem with. But he didn't. He won the election.
Yeah.
And so Gore never got in office. And it took 37 days to go through the courts and figure that out.
Well, and of course, the Democrats, when it was to their favor, they were all about it.
Well, I mean, they've investigated this president for 3 damn years.
You're telling me,
and then all of a sudden they don't like investigations.
So if it was the other way around, and there was a legitimate case to be made against Trump, you're telling me that the left would have just rolled over and conceded?
I doubt it.
Hell no.
I doubt it. So they don't like, whatever reason, they don't like elections. Here's the deal. This election, I just told you this number, and I got to find it. Separation in key state and swing states, key swing states. The separation between Biden and Trump is 276,000 votes. That's it.
So, and that's all the states. That's all the key swing states combined.
Yeah, and so that's not a lot.
You're talking when you're talking about Georgia, you're talking about Pennsylvania, you're talking about Nevada, you're talking about Arizona, you're talking about in some cases as few as 20,000 votes.
Yeah. So it looks like Ohio and Missouri joined a lawsuit suing Pennsylvania because they actually, and we're going to get into this with when we talk about Judicial Watch, they changed the Supreme Court actually became legislators instead of following the law that the legislators have handed down. We're also going to talk about 200 lawsuits filed this year to change the way these elections happen. And I don't think at not one point did Republicans say, let's not have somebody sign their name or no voter ID or so on and so forth.
If the Democrats wind up winning, and it looks like there's a good chance that they're going to win, it's because they played the long game. It's because they planned all this out, and it's because the Republicans didn't do enough to stop them when they had the chance.
Now, Will,
do I think that this was legitimate?
You're being way too nice. Way, way, way too nice. You're being way, way, way too nice.
Too forgiving?
No, I'm saying they're a bunch of lying cheaters.
Well,
and that's exactly what they did.
Well,
they lied and cheated to win this election and changed the rules.
No question.
And whatever the deal is, and,
But I'm waiting for the proof. When the proof comes out, I just hope that it's the smoking gun that we deserve as the public,
I think it
as
is.
the voting public.
I think it is.
If it is, then we'll be justified.
You know who I'm pissed off at? People like Chris Christie.
Yeah.
supposedly a Republican.
And supposedly
people
a buddy
like
of Trump's.
people like what's his name? The guy from Marco Rubio and those guys that have basically just said, just concede and be done with it. You know what? We're fighting for future elections.
Sure we are.
You bunch of
If they're going to do this now and they're able to get away with it, how can we ever have any faith in the system moving forward?
You can't. So Biden takes the stage over the weekend and does his pretty much the acceptance speech. And
he did.
And Kamala Harris with her white pantsuit. And they broke into a football game on a Saturday. I don't know. I'm from the South. You know the only way we break into a football game, if you're from the South, if we're heading to war, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's it. Or maybe there's a hurricane coming. And you know what? You put the ticker on the bottom. You don't break in. I'm just saying, college football is important to people in the South, and they broke into the Texas-West Virginia game, and so it is what it is. But here's what Biden had to say, and two things to note. All of a sudden, we have American flags on the stage.
Where were they before?
We never had those, and he's not talking with a mask on. What the hell is going on with that? Now, we know that several Democrats, governors have come out and said that they will not let the vaccine come out as long as Trump's in office because they don't want that to be a win. So some of these Democratic governors have said they will not administer the vaccine until it's a win. Another thing before we get to Biden, a week after the election, less than a week after election, we have a vaccine that comes out?
Yeah, how in the hell did that happen?
A week after the election? Did they just learn this? I'm going, I don't think so.
Convenient timing.
Yeah, it's very convenient. So here's what Biden had to say, and then I'm going to get into AOC, because if he's really talking about reuniting the country, he needs to put AOC in check. I'll get to that next.
The most votes ever cast on presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
By the way, if that's the case, you ought to put AOC in check, because she said that she wants a list of everybody that voted for Trump.
Kind of sounds like a guy named Schindler.
Well,
Hitler, but
Hitler.
Wasn't it Schindler's List?
Yes. So thank you, AOC. And so what? If you really don't want to divide the country, maybe you ought to put her in check. A couple things also happened over the weekend that our media, you got to love the media. Not only have they decided the presidency before it's actually decided, but they've also came out and said that there were fireworks in Paris. And in London, the bells went off. The church bells to celebrate Biden's election victory. Not so much. In Paris, it was some festival going on, and the church bells were just the church bells.
It's amazing. They won't give credit for Trump for anything he's done that he actually did, and they're going to give Biden credit for stuff that he had absolutely zero to do with.
I mean, thank you, media, for doing your job.
Man, could they be a bunch of bigger damn cheerleaders?
Yeah, thank you so much for doing your job.
And Fox News, I just can't wait to talk about that later.
Oh, yeah, we got Fox News, and we got inside numbers also on the dwindling ratings of Fox News. So we'll talk about that. The attorney generals from many Republican states got together, and they are filing lawsuits. Jeff Landry from the great state of Louisiana, my home state, and look, I get it. Some of the way Jeff Landry is very intelligent. He speaks with accent. He does. And so when you hear it, you hear him say dat, and you're going, who dat? Who dat? So Jeff Landry speaks out about this upcoming lawsuit that is going to be handed down, and the attorney generals across the United States, the Republicans have gathered, and they're filing a lawsuit. Now, the attorney general in Pennsylvania is actually a Republican, and she says she will continue to fight to get down to the truth of the matter. So here's what Jeff Landry of the great state of Louisiana, baby, he talks about it right here.
We have constantly reminded the American people that we represent and stand up for the rule of law. As such, we believe that the voting system should be free of outside undue influence and that irregularities in the process should be completely vetted so the American people can have faith in their system of electing officials. In this particular case, we believe it's akin to the referees getting to change the rules of the game midway through the football game. And being that we're in football season, I think every American can understand and appreciate that. And we believe that's exactly what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did. The referees, which are the judges, don't get to write the rules. That's the legislature. And unfortunately here, we believe that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did exactly that by rewriting.
So that will go to the U.S. Supreme Court without a doubt.
Absolutely.
And rightfully so. So almost every attorney general and Republican state have signed on to that lawsuit. And it will go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will decide if the judges change the rules, because that's exactly what they did. All right, let's move on to Judicial Watch. I love following Judicial Watch. I love following what's going on. In 153 U.S. counties, 1.8 million more voters registered than eligible citizens.
What?
Let me read that again. In 353 U.S. counties, 1.8 million more voters registered than eligible voters.
So the BBC did this big expose where they said that they listed out the top things that to watch out for that were indicators of fraud. Guess what number one was?
100% voting?
Yes.
Oh, Philadelphia had that. And you know what?
And it wasn't
if it's
just
true.
It wasn't even 100%. It was anything above 98% is likely fraud because of dead people,
Right.
and because of people who moved.
Right.
So even in Australia, where they actually fine you and can throw you, there's laws against not voting, and they have online voting. Even in a place like Australia, the best they get with people getting, a fine or getting, I don't know, in some cases jail for not voting, they only get 95% in Australia.
You know what the average is? It used to break my heart in my home county when I lived in another county in New Mexico. We get 13% of registered voters come out and vote on an election. It used to break my heart. You know the average in the United States is about 56%.
We know that there were record turnout. We know that. We're not blind. We saw all the Trump rallies.
But 100%?
We know a lot of people were voting by mail that would never have voted either way. That there was a lot of ballot harvesting and other things like that. Even the ones that made it in time, that were questionably legit. Even with that, you're not going to get. But now the left has got a way to explain it, though. They're saying that it was, first time registrations.
I don't know about that. So 8 states where statewide registration rates exceeded 100%, including Alaska, Colorado, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Vermont. How can you exceed 100%? 1.8% of voters, 1.8 million in excess, and some of these they're calling ghost voters.
And we're looking at less than 276,000 votes in key
Separation.
swing states.
So I wanted to touch on that, and so the lady who is Michael Flynn's attorney spoke about the lawsuit that she is going to be filing, and let's go to that. And she was on Lou Dobbs. Lou Dobbs told her about the lawsuits are coming down, And the Justice Department is going to start looking into this. Here's what she had to say.
I'm delighted to hear that. I think there are any number of things they need to investigate, including the likelihood that 3% of the vote total was changed in the pre-election voting ballots that were collected digitally by using the Hammer program and a software program called Scorecard. That would have amounted to a massive change in the vote that would have gone across the country and explains a lot of what we're seeing. In addition, they ran an algorithm to calculate votes they might need to come up with for Mr. Biden in specific areas. I think that explains what happened in Michigan, where the computer glitch resulted in a change of votes of about 5,500 in favor of President Trump, just in one of 47 districts. All those districts need to be checked for that same, quote, software glitch, end quote, that would change the result in Michigan dramatically. The same thing is happening in other states. We've had hundreds of thousands of ballots mysteriously appear solely for Mr. Biden, which is statistically impossible as a matter of mathematics. It can all be documented. We are putting it into materials that we will file in federal court, and we need to seek relief in multiple states to enjoin the certification of any election results.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So those 5,500 votes swung to the opposite candidate, and this just look. Why are they running algorithms and stuff for the software? That's a bigger question. This hammered scorecard could be part of the problem.
Well,
it could be part of the problem.
And apparently there's a lot of states that have utilized similar programs, and anybody who's been utilizing certain software and certain programs are going to be involved in this one way or the other.
Look, we heard this early on about the watermarks being put on the ballots. I haven't found one legitimate source to say that's true. I'm just saying, look, I know there's videos out there. I know they're out there, but it leads me to the first question. Who prints the ballots? That's the state that prints the ballots. Now, the paper it comes on, does that come from the feds? I still have not been able to answer that
Supposedly, but I've heard there were theories that all the election people had to buy their paper from one source.
Okay.
And they all had this barcode on it that was the watermark, supposedly, which is not exactly what a watermark is, but I got you. Whether or not that's true, if it is, great, it'll come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it will come out in the wash.
I'm interested to see what the actual evidence is, and if there's none, then they're wasting our time. And I'm gonna be pissed at the Trump campaign.
I would be too,
because they knew this was coming. They knew that this was what was going to happen. He was talking about it. The Democrats were talking about him not conceding because they were setting this up.
Yeah, they were setting this up.
Everybody knew this was what was going to happen. If the Republicans were not prepared for it, I blame the Republicans a lot. Don't get me wrong. I blame the cheating Democrats too, but I blame the Republicans for not being prepared.
Right. So we had 245 lawsuits filed heading into the 2020 election. Some of those lawsuits filed with 50 days before the election. And we can blame everything on the pandemic. We can. But the elections are never going to change now when we allow all this mail-in vote and ballot harvesting. So 245 lawsuits. And some of those lawsuits were you don't need a signature. You don't need to show your ID. You don't need an affidavit to get an absentee voting like the law was in many of these states. So the Democrats changed the playing field. I didn't hear one Republican go, let's take away from the integrity of the election.
No.
The only way that happened was on the Democratic side, which is sad. It's sad because you know what? I don't care who wins the election as long as we have a fair election.
I never understood the no ID thing anyway.
I mean,
what's the point? You have to have an ID to buy beer, but you don't have to have an ID to vote.
It's discriminatory, Will, and that's the part.
Why is it discriminatory?
Well,
is it discriminatory against people who need an ID to drive a car?
Here in New Mexico,
or to buy cigarettes if you're not 18.
Here in New Mexico, we don't need an ID to vote.
I know.
And you don't even have to show your voter ID card. And they say that it's because it's discriminatory because poor people can't afford IDs. Now, look, this lawsuit came down in Texas. Texas said, we'll provide free IDs.
Yeah.
Look, there's a certain list of things that you need to have an ID for to be able to get. Number one, to purchase cigarettes, to purchase alcohol, to get an apartment, to get public assistance. The list goes on and on and on. So it's BS.
So the poor people can't afford an ID, therefore they can't get on welfare, or get public assistance. Well, that doesn't make any damn sense.
No, it makes no sense.
None.
But
the only people that make sense for is if they're illegals. But hell, even illegals can get IDs.
Well, and I hate to say it, we got a lot of people voting that aren't even eligible to vote. We just said 1.8 million people. So I saw this story out there, and I screenshotted it because my buddy John Walton, who was a radio guy, and I'm blessed because he taught me how to do a morning show. So I'm indebted for him for the rest of my life. But John Walton was on a show called Walton and Johnson for a number of years. He passed away last year, July of 2019. And guess who voted?
John Walton.
Guess who voted? John Walton actually passed away in July of 2019, but he voted in person.
How the hell did that happen?
His wife decided that she was going to check it out. And so she did, and it shows that he voted.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Will Smith's grandfather supposedly voted, and he's been dead.
So so John was in Texas?
Yeah, Fort Bend, Texas, right outside of Houston. And so John voted, and I don't know how he voted. I mean, I'm just saying, by the grace of God, John came back to be able to vote.
So this is one instance of someone that B actually knew.
Yeah.
So if we add all of the other possibilities out there, if everybody else who came out with one, now, are there going to be a certain percentage of mistakes? Sure. That's an in-person vote. That doesn't look like a mistake to me.
No, that does not look like a mistake.
How in the hell? That looks like fraud.
It looks like fraud to me.
Straight up.
So I just got finished before we came on to do the podcast. I saw a memo, inter-office memo from Fox News. Their ratings are plummeting.
Well, I can't imagine.
Just like Facebook, a lot of people switching over in the Parler. Parler is not. Look, I wish it was. I've been on there since like June, or maybe even before then, and it's got it's just not. It's not ready.
At some point,
I hope it does.
Facebook had years and years of problems. At some point, Parler will get its stuff together. It's not ready for the influx of people that it's gotten. So give it a little time.
But, I don't want to move away from Facebook because, number one, I have my base set up. Me personally, I got over 10,000 people on a couple pages. I don't want to get away from that. I don't want to have to rebuild. The other part is I don't want to be in the bubble. I want to be out of the bubble so I can debunk a lot of this stuff. But
so we can see what the other side's coming up with.
Yeah, but just like Facebook, I got put in jail last week for saying Americans are stupid. How the hell can you debate that at this point?
Right?
I'm just saying.
Well, what if you had said Trump voters are stupid? You would have been fine.
I would have been fine. But, I see on Facebook all the time the calling for law enforcement to be killed, pigs in the blanket, and so on and so forth. But Fox News has got their problems. Rupert Murdoch passed away, and Rupert Murdoch's brother has taken over, James Murdoch. And his wife is a super, super, super lib. And together they gave $1.5 million to Joe Biden. And you know what? They have every right to do so. They have every right to do so. They put up all these anti-Trump posts and tweets, which, you know what? It's their money. It's their company. They can do whatever they want without that.
They can also lose a crap ton whenever people start switching off, which
is
exactly what's happening.
Newsmax and OAN have gotten a lot of people watching because of that.
Blaze
and Blaze TV,
Daily
Wire. The list goes on and on and on. So Fox News is going to lose. Fox News is going to lose. And you know what's sad? A lot of people don't know the difference between news and opinion. They don't know the difference.
Right.
They see the word Fox News and they see Sean Hannity and go, well, that's not opinion, that's news. No, that's an opinion. And the same thing with Don Lemon and all the other clowns at CNN.
Yeah, Don Lemon is not news either.
No, it's not
That's
news.
opinion.
It's opinion. It's definitely opinion.
And if you think he's unbiased, you haven't watched very long. Either that or you're lying to yourself. And there's a lot of liberals out there that are doing that. Some of them, in fact, Kevin's brother among them, has just recently come out and said, well, Fox News has finally found some integrity.
Oh, please.
Whatever.
So, Joe Biden, a couple things that he came out today and said. Number one, he's going to reverse a lot of the Bush executive orders, dealing with oil and gas, dealing with climate change, dealing with a lot of that. But number one thing on his list is a mandatory mass mandate, nationwide mass mandate. Day one of his administration, he is going to put forth a mass mandate.
No matter where we are with Corona by January.
Mass mandate. Now, I beg to ask this question. What are you going to do? Seriously. You're going to put people in jail? We've let a lot of people out of jail because of the coronavirus. Are you going to actually throw me in jail? What kind of teeth is going to be in this thing? But the number one thing he does, mass mandate. And so we'll wait and see how this goes.
I'm just wondering, how's that working for California? I mean, I understand
their numbers went up
because they have a statewide mask mandate, and they're still having a spike. Are they?
I don't understand how this goes. I really don't. Couple more stories, and then we go. Please make sure and subscribe to our channel if you would. Tell your friends. And the magic number is to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're more than halfway there, so please subscribe and let your friends know about the two bald guys on the right. Joe Biden came out over the weekend to show his own hat. You know, Make America Great was pretty awesome. That hat triggered more people. It really did. It triggered more people. And Joe Biden has come out with his own hat that is really going to change the profile of America. And that would be, we did it.
We just did.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. We just did. What the hell does that even mean?
I'm not sure.
We just did.
I'm not sure if that.
We just did.
Was that Make America Great?
What does that mean? Like you went to the bathroom? You didn't need any assistant, Joe? I don't know.
We just made a new gaffe?
We just did it. We did it. Oh, we just did it. I left out. We just did it.
Well, aren't you special?
What is it? What did you do?
Because you haven't won the election yet. I hate to tell you.
So I don't see that hat taking off and being the success of Make America Great.
No.
I just don't see it
happening. You would think they would be able to come up with a little better marketing than that.
You would think so. Who wrote that? Like his 5-year-old granddaughter that he thinks is his son? I don't know. Over the weekend, another thing that happened, former Texas governor and former president of the United States, the president that should know about fighting to the last moment, George W. Bush, congratulated President-elect Joe Biden on his victory, saying the outcome is clear. Was it as clear as you and Gore? Was it that clear?
A lot less clear.
Or was it not as clear? You know what you need to do? And I'm not a big fan of George Bush for two reasons. Number one, he cost me millions. And when he did tort reform in Texas, I won't get into it, he cost me millions. So that was number one. I could be a millionaire today.
Oh.
And number two, we went to war and a lot of Americans died. And we went to war with the wrong country. The weapons of mass destruction, the whole thing with 9/11, sorry, call me a conspiracy theorist or what? Osama bin Laden, where was he from? Saudi Arabia. Our friends in Saudi Arabia, every one of those bombers was from what country? Saudi Arabia. Every one of the bombers from 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia.
But we invaded Iraq.
But we invaded Iraq because he wanted to finish the job his dad started, number one.
Yeah.
And you know what? The military war machine needs a war. And that's part of the reason President Trump was not a fan among the swamp, is that there was no war.
look for these conflicts to start coming
Oh,
back
yeah,
under
they
Biden.
will be popping up left and right. So several countries, Russia, Joe Biden's buddies in China, and I do mean buddies, have both said we're going to hold off on congratulating him until it's actually over.
I asked this morning, I said, so they're hold off congratulating him. Did they make sure he got his check on time?
Biden got his check. Biden got the check. So, interesting time. I am not conceding. Is it time for you to take your Trump sign down or your Trump flag or whatever? I say no.
No.
I say no. I say wait till it comes out. And you know what? Keep it on your vehicle just to remind people as Joe Biden has gaffe after gaffe after gaffe, just to remind them that it could have been Trump. Just saying. Make sure and like us on Facebook. Make sure and subscribe. God bless America. The fight is not over. Keep your head up. Keep your head on a swivel. And you know what? It ain't over until it's over.
There you go.
Last time I checked, the fat lady did not sing.
Nope. And at worst, we got to deal with this for 4 years, but let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Well, you know what? This could be a learning experience. It wasn't enough of a learning experience, Obama. Maybe we need more learning experience. So let's bring in Biden and Kamala Harris.
Oh.
God bless you guys.